Welcome back, everyone. I'm actually recording this after I recorded this video, so this is Future Nick saying hi. Guys, I want to say, I know the quality of my past couple of videos has been low, and it's because I've been sick, or because my computer couldn't handle the editing, and I was really upset about that one video, but I'm going to let it go. But I wanted to apologize, and I wanted to thank everyone for sticking with me who has, and for those people who are saying, like, oh, this content's not very good, I really hope you can stick with me for a little bit longer. As I get through this horrible sickness. Can't mention the name of it, but I think you probably know what it is. We're going to be doing a lot of content, at least one video every day. We're going to be playing back up to Infinite, hopefully. Playing a lot of the decks that you're about to see today. And yeah, but I did want to throw a little bit of warning. I know this title is going to be clickbaity, but anyone telling you that they know the best Zabu decks, or that Zabu's going to be broken, or anything like that, or Zabu's going to suck, or they know the perfect Zabu counter, whatever, they're lying to you. So I want everyone to pay attention to this video, but take it with a grain of salt, because no one really knows until the card comes out and we figure it out that way. Card games are very tricky, and the way all cards interact can be very elusive sometimes, so no one fully knows yet until the card comes out. So be careful what you hear. Be careful what you're spending your money on. Be careful who you're spending your tokens on, and just watch out for it. Because, including this video, by the way, you want to make decisions for yourself, and that is always the message that is spread on this channel, is positivity, and that you should not be playing Marvel Snap as sort of like a sponge of what other people are saying, like just copying decks and things like that, because that is not the best way to play Marvel Snap. It is always to learn the interactions for yourself and figure out the moves yourself, because the more you figure out your own cards' interactions and everything like that, the more you will be able to build decks and figure out counters and all of that, and the better you will be at making decisions will help you climb in the long run. So, with that being said, I'm going to send you to past Nick to talk about the 3 best Zabu decks you'll ever see. Alright, guys. And welcome back, everyone, to another Marvel Sick daily video. I am still sick, unfortunately. I still am suffering with big C word. Apparently you can't say that on YouTube. So, but before I get into it in this video, guys, I wanted to let you all know, thank you so much for the support. Some of the videos, we seem to be on a decline in some of the views, and I'm not sure if that's like the titles or the content or kind of the clickbait parts of the what do you call those, gosh, that I really can't think right now, stupid thing. But yeah, if in the comments you guys could tell me what you'd like to see more, which would catch you more attention. You know, give me a title you think I should run for like upcoming videos. You know, obviously we're gonna be doing a lot of Zabu, a lot of new season stuff, so let me know. You guys can help me out, and I'd really appreciate it. But I've really appreciated all the help you guys have been doing. Our actual view to like ratio is insanely high, so thank you. And we're gonna try to keep that going. But for today, we do have a Zabu video. We're actually gonna be doing a few videos today because it's a big day in Marvel Snap. Zabu's being released. I believe there's a new season coming out and a new pass coming out, so we'll probably cover all 3. Starting with Zabu, though, he is not out yet, so you'll see in the decks I have up above me, there's a blank spot. Insert Zabu there. Zabu's a 3/2, so he'd go right next to Lockjaw. And we're going to start today's video off with a Zabu discard deck. This is the most unique of the decks that I have of the 3 we're going to be covering today. This is your standard Apocalypse Lockjaw discard. It's called Dracula Casino a lot of the time, or Dracula Lockjaw. Has a few different names. But because we're allowed to throw Zabu into this, it gives us some interesting potential. So what we did is we took out Swamp and we added Wong. And the reason we added Wong is it gives us 2 different play paths. We can go the cycle discard, where we're using Lockjaw to cycle through all of our discard cards, hitting Apocalypse as many times as possible, building up the biggest Apocalypse, hitting that with Dracula, paying Chavez on turn 6. One option, or playing more discard cards on turn 6, making Apocalypse even bigger, making Morbius even bigger, making a big play path there. But let's say we don't draw Lockjaw, or we don't have the greatest discard angle. What we can do is play Zabu, and then our turn 6 looks like Wong Hellcow. That's only going to cost 2 mana because of Zabu's effect. right? So we could play Wong, Hellcow, Dracula, or Wong, Hellcow, Morbius, or Wong, Hellcow, Colleen Wing, Wong, Hellcow, Morbius, right? Like, the point is, we can get a lot of power on there, and Wong, Hellcow is 4 different discards. So even if we have a lot of cards at hand, that'll get rid of it, hopefully. We don't have swarms, so we can't like drastically increase the size of our hand, making it less likely to hit Apocalypse, so that's actually a good thing. Of course, Hellcow counts Apocalypse as 1 card even after it's been discarded, so each Wong proc can only hit Apocalypse once, so at most this can only hit Apocalypse twice. That's okay, because Dracula will hit it again, making for a potential 3 hits on Apocalypse on turn 6, which is absolutely crazy. And you can, of course, you can do that combo on turn 5, by the way. That's how crazy Zabu might end up being. So you might end up being able to play both patterns where you play Lockjaw on 3. Well, no, you're going to want to play Zabu on 3. On 4, you might want to play Wong Hellcow. Get a bunch of discards going. Now, let's say you draw into Dracula, then you can play something like Dracula, which will cost 2, Lockjaw, Blade, and just get as many discards out. And like maybe you draw into your Lady Sif, maybe you draw into Colleen Wing, like you get another discard. So what I'm saying is this has a lot of different play paths that sometimes the discard avenue doesn't have, and it has a much higher chance of that high roll that was locked before out of being gated by the mana, which Zabu's going to unlock. So you're allowed to play Wong in this deck, and Wong likes being played in these decks, but it's pretty hard to fit him in normally because he just costs too much. And he doesn't give you that immediate result. Like, if you play him on 4, you can't play your next card till 5, and then even if that's Hellcow, right, that's probably going to be the only card you play. Maybe you get Hellcow Blade out if you're really lucky. But then it's hard to put your Dracula down at that point, and you start running into a lot of issues. So this just allows this to be so much more succinct, so much more economically friendly. You can play Zabu, Dracula, Wong on turn 4. Right, or, you know, Zabu on turn 3, on turn 4, Dracula, Hellcow if you don't have Wong, Dracula, Colleen Wing, Dracula, Morbius, right? Anything that's below 3 cost on turn 4 you can play Dracula with. So, yeah, unlocks a lot of potential. Zabu does for this deck. And it's going to allow for a lot more discards, and this deck was already pretty close to top tier, right? It was probably A or B tier. Now, again, there's no great Marvel step analytics, so tough to fully say if that's an accurate comment. That's from my anecdotal experience, but this deck always felt fair because it was a good cube deck, meaning a lot of people didn't see how big your Apocalypse was getting, and they don't foresee how good your Lockjaw cycle is going to be. And so you could get a lot of 8-cube games, a lot of 8-cube wins. So I like this deck by itself. I think Zabu's going to make this deck much better. I think this will be a fun deck to play. We'll probably play it later. Let's get into deck number 2. And welcome back to deck number 2, titled Zabu 2. And Zabu 2, I think, has... I'm open to different changes in some of the cards, to be honest with you. Such as Rescue, such as Drax. Even Jessica Jones, to be honest with you. But the main idea of this deck, right, is get your Sunspot down on 1. Ideally, you get your Goose down on 2. You might say to yourself, Nick, why Goose in this deck? The reason is, if you play Goose and then play your Zabu behind Goose, it can't be Enchantress. So Goose is actually going to be a great way to protect Goose. And since you're playing a bunch of 4 costs, you're going to say, well, you can't play behind Goose anymore. Actually, that's not how Goose works. Anyone who plays Sarah decks or Death Wave decks frequently knows this. Goose actually doesn't go off the card's original mana cost. Goose goes at what it currently costs. So, all of your 4 costs that cost 2 costs, you can play your 4 costs behind Goose, and your opponent cannot. So Goose is going to be absolutely incredible, I think, with Zabu. I think that's amazing synergy that's going to allow you to win a lot of games by you being able to play large strength units in there your opponent cannot. So imagine you play a Goose, and behind that Goose you play something like Drax Jessica Jones on turn 4. I mean, that's... Which Drax gives war power? So that's just 16 power casually. Throwing behind Goose. So, really tough to beat. Really good. I think that's going to be a great combo. Shang-Chi is a counter card. Spider-Man, you can play on turn 5, right? So you get Zabu down. You didn't draw your Sarah. A little unlucky. You play Spider-Man. You can play something like Spider-Man Moon Girl on turn 5. You've now locked your opponent out of playing in one location that final turn. You can now beat it with maybe like a Strong Guy, a Rescue, a Hell Cow. I think the ideal play path is you draw Sarah, because then all your other cards cost 1. However, and that's with, obviously, with Zabu and Sarah on the field. I do think, ideally, the play path is something probably more like Spider-Man and Rescue on turn 5. If you don't get Sarah, then on turn 6 you can proc that Rescue. And then you can play something like Hell Cow, Strong Guy, Drax, or Shang-Chi to counter their move. You know, like, you'll be able to get 3-4 costs out on that final turn without Sarah. With Sarah, you'll be able to play 6. Which probably isn't too realistic, but maybe it is. And if that is realistic, maybe Bishop fits in these decks. I don't know. Though it's tough to play Bishop, because your 3 and up are probably taken by Zabu and then 4 costs. But I think this deck has a lot of good synergies with the Goose, with the 4 costs, with Strong Guy and Hell Cow combination. They're both going to cost 2, so it's a really good turn 6 play. You're talking about 16 power just with those 2 cards alone. With Rescue, that's an extra 9. Right, with Drax and Jessica Jones procking, that's an extra 16. You're talking a lot of power that's going to come down on turn 5 and 6. It's going to be hard to predict. Well, Drax and Jones won't be, but I guess Rescue won't be either. But the Strong Guy Hell Cow won't really be until people figure it out. And even if they do, you can hide it behind Goose, and you can't even Shang-Chi it. Shang-Chi is a 4 for them, but it's a 2 for us. So pretty cool. I'm sorry again, I'm still sick. So that's deck 2. I don't think it's quite as spicy as deck 1. I do think it'll be... I don't want to say consistent, because I do think you will have to draw into Zabu. If you don't draw into Zabu, this deck becomes substantially weaker. What you're really going to have to count on if you don't draw into Zabu is your Sunspot getting big, because you're saving a lot of energy. Playing something like your Jessica Jones on turn 4, and turn 5 playing your Sarah, and then getting 2 of your 4 costs out. And hopefully that's just enough power to win the game. That seems a little unlikely. So this is a very Zabu necessity deck. If you don't draw Zabu, it's probably a treat. If you do draw Zabu, probably a snap. It's the Zabu deck. Oh, and because of that, for the record, I wouldn't hate taking out one of these 4 costs and throwing in an America Chavez to boost the likelihood of drawing into Zabu. But for now, I think this is the deck that we're going to roll with. All right, let's get to deck 3. Alright guys, welcome back to deck 3, and I call this one Call Zabu Maybe. Or just Zabu Maybe. And this deck combines a little bit of some of the other decks into one, and this is kind of... I saw, you know, some varieties of the other ones before, and I didn't see any variety of this one before, and this deck is purely a Zabu deck. Like, if you do not draw Zabu, you have to get out. That's fine. I actually think that's totally fine, because I think the power potential of this deck is going to be absolutely nuts. I think you're going to use Sunspot early, get as much going as possible. I could see Goose being in here as well if you want to take out maybe Destroyer or Infinite. I wouldn't take out both, but I would take out one. Maybe even White Queen. And throw in Goose to protect, again, your cards. But you throw Zabu in here, and you play one turn 3. You can play your Dracula and Strong Guy, let's say. You can play your White Queen to figure out what they're playing. Play out your Tuma. You know, throw that out in one lane. Typhoid Mary. You throw in your Sarah. You can play your Dracula, Enchantress, Strong Guy, Hell Cow all in that last turn, if you get that card out. But really what you're looking to do is play your 4 costs, get all of your 4 costs out there. Have a Tuma be in one lane, maybe Dracula be in another lane. Strong Guy in a 3rd lane, right? And then you're just buffing up the 2 non-Atuma lanes with, like, Hell Cow, Enchantress, even Sarah. And what happens is your Dracula's going to hit, hopefully, your Destroyer or Infinite, and you're going to be looking at 3 lanes sitting all above 10 power, right? Your Tuma lane's going to be the weakest, which is why I think 0 might be needed. I think Atuma probably comes out of this list. Let's take Atuma out. The more I think about it, I just don't think he's good here without an armor or a 0, and I don't really think you're going to want those in this deck. Well, 0 could work because you have Destroyer and Typhoid Mary. Yeah, you know what? For the spiciness, I think we do. We're going to keep them in there. So we're going to do a little theory crafting live. We have a Tuma, and we're going to throw in 0. Was it 1-3? But obviously we need to make room here for our Zabu. And I think we kind of like Enchantress to hit Typhoid Mary as like an alternate play path. Honestly, we're not running a ton of 4 costs here. And because of that, I think we can take out Sarah. We're going to do that. We're going to take out Sarah. And this is going to be the deck. Right? We're not going to play 6 4 costs on turn 6 because we don't have 6 4 costs. We have 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, we do. Nope, Sarah's needed. I apologize. I miscounted because I am sick and disgusting. So let's put Sarah back in there. 100% she's a necessity. It might be Enchantress. I kind of like Enchantress in this deck, though, but it could backfire with you hitting your strong guy, with you hitting your Zabu. So we'll take out Enchantress, though. I think it could be good. And I think you just live and die with the Typhoid Mary ongoing effect there, and maybe you get to 0 it out, maybe you 0 out a Tuma. You get different options to the point. So I think this is the Zabu maybe. They call me Zabu maybe, a 0 Zabu deck. And I think this could be really cool. You're allowed to put out an absolute ton of power. Like, your last turn could, in theory, be, if you've gotten Sarah and Zabu on the field, excuse me, could be 0 into a Tuma, Dracula. So that, what's that? It's 2. You've done 2 mana. Dracula's another mana. Strong Guy, Hell Cow, and Typhoid. Yeah. So you can play, on that final turn, you could do 0, Atuma, Dracula, Strong Guy, Hell Cow, Typhoid Mary. Then Hell Cow discards, let's say, White Queen and Infinite, and Dracula discards Destroyer, getting that 15 power. You're talking about a final power play of like 15, 20, 26, 29, 39, 49, a 49 power push on turn 6, which is absolutely crazy. This is an insanely high roll deck. I'm not going to say it's going to be consistent. I don't think it will be. You need Zabu or this deck does not work. However, I do think it's going to be fun, and we're definitely going to try it out. So these are the 3 decks I would say might be fun to play. I'm not going to say they're the best decks. I don't know that. No one knows that. Anyone who's telling you they know the best Zabu decks in the world, or how Zabu's going to be strong, or how Zabu's going to be anything, they're lying to you. No one knows. This game is complicated. So the only way we're going to find out is by testing and playing with the cards. And I hope you all do that. And I hope you all do enjoy. And if you can't afford the Season Pass, I understand. Hopefully you'll tune in for more Zabu content so we can show you. But yeah, I wouldn't have a fear of missing out. I think there's going to be a lot of ways to counter Zabu. Enchantress, obviously a huge way to do it. People are throwing out Sandman. I doubt that, but maybe. And, you know, so if you're one of the people out there who's not going to be able to afford him, but you're going to figure out how to beat him, you'll be even doing better than the Zabu players. So we'll see how we go. We'll see how Zabu turns out. But for now, I'm GemmachineEsq. Keep on snapping.